Hello, hi everyone. It's Fix It or Feel It time once again. And today we have a very special episode because as of the day that you are hearing this, if you're hearing it on the day that it dropped, yesterday was the 8-year anniversary of the day that I decided to stop drinking and doing drugs and smoking cigarettes and treating myself like somebody I hate because in a lot of ways it super did. I have an entire self-love themed episode planned, so we will save that for another day. But yes, it has officially been 8 years since I decided to stop living like what a medical professional would probably call a big ol' mess. So today I think we will get into why I started drinking in the first place, when I started drinking, my entire relationship with alcohol, the points at which it became too much for me to handle, the years after that point that I finally decided to stop, and we'll get into some frequently asked questions I get a lot about my sobriety. I hesitate to use the word sobriety because that tends to be reserved for people who have fully gone to rehab and have stopped using substances of all kind. I guess I would say that I am what people would call California sober. I do indulge in the greenery, as they would say, from time to time. I touched a little bit in the last pod about how that's maybe not the best thing for me, but I'm not entirely sober. I also don't avoid foods that have been cooked with alcohol or even cooking with alcohol myself. I enjoy a risotto. I enjoy some red wine braised short ribs, and I don't have a problem cooking out all of the alcohol that goes into those, but I fully appreciate, understand, and respect people that do or don't. It actually reminds me, because I was going to say I haven't touched a drop of alcohol in those 8 years, but I was in Spain with my mother because sometimes we go on vacation together and they are lovely and they are fun and we are creating beautiful memories every single time. And I promise that I only fantasize about laying down in traffic maybe once in the entire trip. I love you, Mom. I know you will hear this, and that is a joke and also true. So we were at a very, very fancy restaurant in Spain. We were staying in Barcelona, and I believe it was my birthday, kind of, I don't want to say forced, but suggested forcefully that we rent a car and drive to a town like maybe a couple hours outside of Barcelona and go to this Michelin star restaurant that was on a farm, and they grew all of their own produce, and it looked like an art museum with 5 tables in it where they served something like over 20 courses and 6 different desserts. All that to say, it sounded like I was bragging, didn't it? Not a brag. The point of the story is that one of those desserts was basically like a brioche bread that they poured a comical amount of cognac over and then set ablaze. And I remember taking a bite of that, immediately tasting booze, and then feeling almost tipsy because it was the first drop of alcohol that I had consumed in many, many years, which is actually interesting because they say that when you are an alcoholic or you are somebody that abuses alcohol, you would think that your tolerance goes up, and it does go up. But also what happens is that if you are so used to blacking out every time you drink, once you have a little bit of alcohol, your brain recognizes it and goes, oh, I know this feeling. I know what's supposed to happen here, and then will make you black out almost instantly. It'll take you to the drunk feeling, to the blackout feeling, before you're even ready to get there, because it's just like, I know this story. Let's just Tarantino this thing and jump right to the end. So I was always a very anxious child. When I was a kid, I would have what doctors would now call panic attacks, but because I grew up in the 90s, they threw an inhaler at me and told me to suck it up and be a man. But I had a lot of social anxiety. My anxiety, even to this day, takes the form of a child on the first day of school walking in and feeling like everybody else got invited to some kind of assembly where they told everybody exactly where to go and what to do and who to be friends with and where to sit and what shoes to wear and what backpacks to buy, and I was not invited, which is a very stressful way to feel, and that is the form that my anxiety takes. My inner child feels very much out of place and like he doesn't know what to do in any given situation. I say that because I can track my enjoyment of drinking to the fact that I had a lot of that social anxiety. And I started drinking when I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school. And I can remember this story so vividly, which is strange because I don't have a ton of vivid memories of my childhood. But I was a freshman in high school. My sibling was a senior, and my sibling, being the very kind person that they are, decided to include me and my friends in their social events, and they were taking me to a party. They were taking me to a senior party, which was a big deal. And I can remember sitting in the back seat of my sibling's car on the way to that party and thinking that I want to be a very serious baseball player. I want to play Division I college baseball and maybe play in the major leagues if anybody would take me. And having the knowledge that there would be alcohol at this party, people would offer it to me, but fantasizing about how I would say no. I'm a very serious baseball player, and I will not get caught up in all of this riffraff, so to speak. And I walked into the party, and within 3 minutes maybe of being there, a senior on the baseball team, who was one of my siblings' friends and played the same position of me on varsity, was like, "Hey, Clark, you want a beer?" And I went, "Yeah," immediately. No conviction at all. Like, it went right out the window the second there was some social status at play. And what I can remember is having 1, 2 beers, and then all of a sudden I had charisma. I was laughing, I was joking, I was funny, and all the cool older senior kids thought that I was hilarious, and they all wanted to be my friend. And because our brains are really good at making associations with very little context, my brain made the association that alcohol equals acceptance. Alcohol equals feeling relaxed and loose and wanted and desired. And I decided to take that feeling and run like hell with it for the next 15 years. So for the next 15 years, I was the party guy. It was my identity. It was who I was. If anybody knew me, met me, heard about me, it was about my exploits and my endeavors in getting as fucked up as humanly possible and being real good at it, honestly. Like I said in the first podcast, I didn't like doing things that I wasn't good at. Something I was real good at was drinking, and drinking a lot, and staying coherent and awake and funny. Every drunk person thinks they are way funnier when they are drunk. And as somebody who doesn't drink anymore and has had to be around people that are drunk, it's a real bummer to find out that that might not be true. If I had approached school or college or work or my relationships with the same gusto or creativity and drive that I put towards drinking alcohol, I mean, I would be in the Forbes top 50 under 50 right now, I think. Sometime around college, and when I say college, I mean I lived in a college town and I participated in the extracurricular activities that college students did, but I did not attend college. I tried multiple times, but failed multiple times. I was not mature enough or ready enough to balance my to balance my 2 jobs. 1, school, and 2, getting fucked up. So sometime around that time, I discovered a little magic white powder that kept you from blacking out and kept you awake longer and kept you drinking longer, which was all I really cared about. It was always, how do we keep this party going? How do I keep this good feeling going? Because once this is over, once Popeye's spinach wears off, I'm just a weird, scrawny pirate with a corncob pipe. So I continued to abuse those 2 things together for the better part of the next 10 years until I was about 29 years old. At 29, it had already started to become too much for me to handle for a while. I woke up basically every Sunday for 2 or 3 years going, I can't do this anymore. I would get hangovers that were so bad and so earth-shatteringly severe that I would call my mom and tell her I had to go to the hospital. It was not just the hangover. It was the hangover. It was coming down from that magic white powder. It was, I think, a touch of nicotine poisoning because I would smoke packs and packs and packs of cigarettes, even though when I was sober, I didn't really smoke. And the other thing it was the anxiety. Most recovering alcoholics will tell you about this ridiculous anxiety that the day after drinking gives you, which is such a beautifully, I don't want to say beautiful, but the universe has a way of developing checks and balances, and you start drinking to assuage your anxiety, and really you're just robbing from Peter to pay Paul, right? You're gonna have triple the anxiety the next day because you took a shortcut. So sometime around Memorial Day in the year of our Lord 2017, I went on a trip to Key West for the first time, a trip that I remember about 12% of. Some of the things I do remember are some of the most shameful and embarrassing things that I can remember. And I woke up mildly concussed, asking to go to the hospital once again, and finally deciding I can't. I physically, mentally, emotionally cannot handle doing this anymore, and decided to make a change. And since that day, I have not had a drink, nor, fortunately for me, have I wanted to have a drink, which I will touch on in a second. So what I've learned about alcohol is, like I said, our brains are basically just pattern recognizing computers. but they are not good at context. They're not capable of nuance. They are looking at raw data and making huge, and might I say, irresponsible leaps. That can be detrimental to us. So, for example, let's say you go on a vacation with a friend and you guys sign up for the Cheeses of Newport, Rhode Island tour. I don't know. Oh, cheese tour sounds great. So you show up at noon for the tour and nobody's there, and you realize, oh shit, we booked the wrong day. What are we gonna do now with the next 3 hours of our cheeseless lives? And you look across the street, you see a cute little English pub, and the bartender is just turning on the open sign, and you go, let's go get some fish and chips, and we'll have a beer. So you go into the pub, you have one beer turns into 2 beers. Now there's a England national soccer game, and an entire tour bus full of people from London roll in, and they're all buying beers, and you guys are singing their national anthem, and there's a couple girls in the party, and you take them back to your hotel room. You have a great time. They leave, and you and your friends stay up until sunrise talking about anything and everything. And it's one of your fondest memories. What your brain does is goes, oh, that magical day with my friend would not have happened had we not decided to have some midday beers. So alcohol equals magical day with friend, when in reality, it was a confluence of events that created that beautiful memory that you have. So if you're like me, you end up chasing that magic over and over and over again by just add water. Just add booze, and it's gonna be a good time no matter what. And the more you do it and the longer you do it, the more you realize that it's really hit or miss. And for me, it started to miss a lot more than it was hitting, to the point where I can see this so clearly now. But for the last year or two that I was drinking, I would get crazy anxious on my way to the bar. Like I was wearing a weighted vest. I could feel it sitting on my chest, this anxiety, where I was just going to the same bar with the same friends that I always had. Why was I so anxious? And it's because deep down, I knew what was coming in 48 hours. I knew once this binge was over, I was right back to take me to the hospital. I think I'm dying. And I'm laughing now, but those hangovers were not funny. But like, remember when hangovers were funny? Where you would wake up and be like laughing at how bad you feel? And you're like, oh, I need a Gatorade and a sausage McMuffin, and I'll be right back on my feet. Like when I used to see in those real dark hangover days, I would see people on Instagram like posting a bacon, egg, and cheese and being like, hangover cure. I'm like, y'all are not partying the right way if a fucking sandwich is going to cure your hangover. Like, I need 3 days. I need a team of doctors and IVs and quite possibly an old priest and a young priest to do an exorcism on me. So for the last 8 years now, I have spent it kind of relearning how to live my life. Learning how to socialize without your biggest social crutch is really not easy, nor is it fun. And finding out that maybe you don't even like socializing all that much, which is very crazy. I had been using alcohol as a crutch for such a long time that I thought that I was a people person. I thought I was a real social butterfly. I was truly trying to get into hospitality because I was like, there's no way I could ever not be around people 24/7. When the truth is, like, I'm kind of a homebody. And by kind of, I mean I'm a big time homebody. I do enjoy doing things with small groups of people that I really care about, but for the most part, I still get that social anxiety. Even if it's dinner with my best friends I've known since first grade, mentally I feel relaxed, but my body is anxious. I get the most insane armpit sweats that I hate. Maybe more than anything. I don't, as John Mulaney would say, I don't even think I have a joke for how much I hate that shit. But to my body, it can't tell the difference between dinner with friends and being chased through the jungle by a leopard. It is in full fight or flight mode. But what I learned through my sobriety is that I can handle it. It's gonna be okay. And the cost of having some embarrassing sweat stains under my armpits is far cheaper than the cost of the depression-inducing hangover that will follow from having some drinks to try to curb that social anxiety. I had to learn how to date sober, which was difficult. I mean, just dating in general was difficult. I did not date in my 20s. I had one relationship that maybe lasted 6 months, but other than that, I barely had sex because that was not my priority. I can remember specific times, maybe not specific, but I can remember times being at the bar with a girl who was like, hey, do you want to get out of here? And me being like, but the bar's still open. They're still serving. Why would we leave now? We can leave at 4 a.m. when they stop serving us. Normally we end with a quote, but this feels relevant right now since we're talking about it. So I'll give you my favorite quote about sobriety or quitting drinking that I ever heard. It's something to the tune of, people say when you stop drinking, you'll feel better. And you do, but you also feel everything better. You feel sadness better. You feel anxiety better. You feel depression better. You feel anger better. And you are forced to feel for the first time. So not only are you getting rid of your biggest crutch for all those things, now you have to face them head on without it. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about or even know about when they're making the decision to quit. And this is not me trying to deter anybody to stop drinking if they feel like it's too much. It's just that you think that stopping drinking is the hard part. And it really isn't. It's being a person without it. That's the hard part. So I'll give you some frequently asked questions that I get a lot from people because it actually has been coming up a lot in some of my life coaching sessions and some talks with just friends in general. It's a pretty common theme that I'm recognizing, people who are not alcoholics even. Some of them really aren't drinking to excess. They aren't doing it every day, but it's still taking a toll. And they're trying to reckon with, is it worth it? And as somebody who had to stop drinking because I was using it to excess, but I wasn't an everyday drinker. I never liked to just have a beer at home. I never liked to get drunk by myself. If I was going to get drunk by myself, I went to a bar and I made friends with the bartender or the people there. But it's sometimes a difficult decision to make when it's not like you're losing your job or you have a wife and kids at home that are like, you're tearing this family apart, Ted. Like everything on the outside is fine. You're functioning fine, but still something doesn't feel right. So frequently asked questions. Was it hard? Like I said, yes, it was hard, but it wasn't hard to stop drinking. It was hard to learn how to become a person without it. The patterns that I had with alcohol, and I'm always only just speaking for my experience. My pattern was I didn't like having a drink. If I was drinking to get drunk. So once I realized that I never wanted to be drunk again, I have had no desire to drink. So for me personally, and sometimes I feel guilty about this, for me personally, it was not hard to stop drinking. I didn't have the desire to drink anymore. I sometimes equate it to like that old crusty sponge on the side of your sink that you've been looking at for like 2 weeks and you're like, I need to get a new sponge, but I'm all out. And I forgot at the grocery store for the fourth time. So if I just add a little soap and a little water, it'll get the job done. But eventually you reach a point where you're like, all right, this thing's fucking disgusting. It's making my dishes dirtier by trying to clean it. There's nothing left. I got to throw this thing out. So that was my experience with alcohol. I had gotten every positive experience that there was to have with booze. I wrung that sponge dry, and it was time to throw the whole thing away. Do I miss it? Do I ever have the desire to drink? And like I said, no, I don't have the desire, and I don't miss drinking, but I do miss the person that I was when it was going well. I miss the carefree nature of it. I miss the adventure of it. I miss the social aspect of it. I miss the bonding with friends of it. I had a lot of good times with alcohol. I don't look back at most of my time drinking as such a traumatic nightmare. I have a lot of fondness for it, but mostly the fondness of youth and fewer responsibilities. I do miss the taste of an IPA. I do love an IPA, but I found some good replacements. There is actually a kombucha company called Mother Kombucha, and they make a passion fruit hop kombucha that tastes like a passion fruit IPA. So if you're ever itching for something that tastes like an IPA and you are not drinking right now, go try and find those. They are delicious. And that's not a sponsor because I don't have any sponsors. And that also is one of the questions that I ask some of my clients or friends when they start talking about whether they should quit or not. I think oftentimes if you're asking, you probably already know the answer. The question I will ask is, what are you clinging to? What feels so important about alcohol that you just can't give it up, even when you have told me that almost every time you do, even if it's just one, you wake up kind of feeling shitty the next day? My guess is that you're clinging to your youth. You're clinging to the version of you that could drink and it didn't affect you, which is a very natural thing to do. As we get older and things start to hurt more, and responsibilities start piling up, we, of course, are fantasizing and glorifying these younger times where things were easier or they felt easier. This is a pretty common one. Do you regret anything? Do you regret the years you spent abusing your body in that way and abusing your mind in that way? I actually would say that I went through a period of time where I probably did. I thought a lot about it. And what happened was at the suggestion of my first ever personal trainer, she suggested that I write a letter to a past version of myself. One day, I believe it was during COVID, didn't have a lot to do, sat down and started writing a letter to the me that was about a couple months away from quitting drinking. And as I wrote this letter, the only thing that came out was how sorry I was. I just kept telling him, oh, this always makes me emotional when I talk about this letter. I started telling him just how sorry I was that I couldn't get him out of there sooner. Should I read the letter? Oh, that's vulnerable. Maybe I'll read the letter. I have learned that a lot of times when I feel resistant or scared of something, it's probably a good idea to just go ahead and do it. So I'm going to do it. Hey, 3 years ago, Brian. It's me, future Brian. First things first, I know you're in a bad way right now, and I just want you to know how sorry I am. I'm sorry that you are so devastatingly, earth-shatteringly sad right now, and I'm sorry that I didn't do anything to help you sooner. I'm sorry that I enabled you by telling you that this is just who you are and who you will always be. I'm sorry you think that putting yourself and your body through so much turmoil is the only thing that makes you special and likable and funny and acceptable. I know it goes against everything you're feeling right now, but you deserve better. You're scared and depressed and lonely, and you're wearing all of this hopelessness around your neck, almost like a badge of honor at this point, so you can collect more and more of it in the form of bottles of booze and bags of blow and empty approval from people on a bar stool who don't give a shit about what you look or feel like tomorrow. I know it feels really heavy right now, and that you're positive you're drowning, and I'm so, so sorry. To make it up to you, I'm here to tell you that things will get better. And not 3 years from now, 3 months from now. You're so close, just hang in there a little longer. You're days away from realizing that alcohol isn't a personality. Blacking out is not a character trait that defines you. People will still like you without a comically large shot of Rumplemints in your hand. And people worrying about you is not the same as people caring about you. But somewhere along the way, the line's blurred, and you feel so alone that the attention feels nice, even if it's the wrong kind. You are not committed to the lifestyle you chose at 17 years old. There was no contract, you didn't sign any paperwork, I was there. You're going to find out that the loneliness and the fear and the anxiety need to be dealt with and not thrown in the back of the closet with all the other shit you've been avoiding, like growing up, or telling the truth, or cleaning your goddamn bedroom. Jesus. Those feelings aren't going anywhere, and oftentimes they're going to hurt so badly that giving up will seem reasonable, because you can't just turn your brain off with a 48-hour bender, but I promise you can handle this. You're stronger than you think you are, and you're this close to finding all of that out. It's 2020 right now. We don't need to talk about what's going on in the world right now. You've got enough on your plate. The world is certainly not on fire, and we're all doing great, right, guys? Wink, wink. In the next couple of weeks, you're going to do your almost daily routine now. Wake up, walk to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and tell yourself over and over, like a reverse mantra, that you're a piece of shit and you hate yourself. But I really need you to know that I love you. Your family loves you, and your friends love you, and you are a citizen of this earth. Oh, episode 3, and we're crying. You are a citizen of this earth, and you matter. You're not lost. You just took the longest, most irresponsible, inconvenient, and painful detour you could fathom, but I swear you're almost home. Woo! Okay. Listen, I love crying. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I was not expecting to cry in episode 3. Okay, moving right along. The last question I get a lot is, did you lose any friends over it? Here's what I'll say. I don't think I lost any friends because I quit drinking. I would say some friends fell by the wayside because just as you grow and as you change, some relationships are great for you at certain times in your life. And when you get past those certain times, sometimes they don't work anymore. And it can be sad, but it can also be normal and natural and okay. And the people that I would say that I did lose because I fell out of that lifestyle maybe weren't friends to begin with, right? They were those people that I kind of talked about in the letter who wanted me to be a jukebox. They wanted to put a nickel in me and watch me dance and perform for them and be the funny guy. And they didn't care about how I felt the next day. And the people that truly did care still do care. And not only were they supportive, they were proud. And it's not like any of the people in my life were, surprised. It's always a good sign. If you tell somebody you're thinking about quitting drinking and they're not surprised, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. You might be onto something. So now that I've cried on camera, I think it's a good time to call it for the day. I just want to end by saying that if you are having a difficult time with alcohol or struggling in any kind of way with your relationship to it, I see you. I get it. I know that it's hard. I am available for support. My DMs are always open if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, or I will even leave my professional email address in the description if you need to reach out. I will be here to help and to listen. Or better yet, I will be here to help or just to listen. Since I kind of burned my favorite alcohol quote already, I'll leave you with another quote that is in the same vein of putting an end to destructive habits and just change in general. And it's an Alan Watts quote that is simple, but so succinctly put that it really changed the way that I think. And it is, you are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. You do not have to believe all of the stories that you have told yourself over how many years about who you are and what things that you want to do and like to do. You can change that anytime you want. Have some check-ins with yourself, reevaluate what your priorities are, what your goals are, and what you really want out of life, and figure out where to go from there. I almost forgot to do this again. I've been forgetting at the end of every episode, but this is on the internet. It is on YouTube. So I must say, please, if you have it in your heart, give it a like, subscribe anywhere you listen, put something in the comments, tell me some things that maybe you would like me to touch on, or if you relate to anything that I've said about this topic, please, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Adios.